Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Leaders in Value Chain podcast. I'm your host, Radu Palamariu, CEO of Elcott Global, and it is my pleasure and delight to have with us today Tarek Amine, who is the Chief Supply Chain Officer of Bechtel. A few words on Bechtel first. It is a very large engineering, procurement, and construction company. Actually, is the second largest in the United States, as per the data that I found, one of the largest in the world as well. 100 plus years old, 120 plus years old, so it's been around for a while, extremely successful company. Tarek has been with them for more than 25 years. He's done projects literally all over the world, from Australia to Middle East to, of course, a lot in US and many other parts of the world. Very large projects, from building super big infrastructure projects, and is now leading the overall supply chain organization. And it is my pleasure to welcome him today with us. Thanks for joining us, Tarek.
Thank you, Radu, for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast, and look forward to our discussion.
So maybe let's start with yourself, and more specifically, some inflection points from your career, those moments when you look back and you say, wow, this really made the most difference to where I am today as the Chief Supply Chain Officer of the company.
Thank you. I mean, reflecting back on a long career with Bechtel, I feel there are many experiences that the journey through Bechtel has provided for professionals such as myself. I feel every journey's been, in my 25 years, every project, every assignment has been a huge learning experience in itself, and an eye-opening and exposure to something. From working in a home office to working in the field across Africa or Australia or Asia and South America. They all provide different flavors and, most importantly, huge learning experiences and memories that you carry with you. I think one of the big ones that can actually, working internationally on mega project has been a huge learning experience and huge exposure to different culture, to different regulations, to different ways of doing business. So I think the mobility and learning has been, I will say, one of them, getting exposed to different parts internationally, especially with the size of the project that Bechtel does. We're into our 126th year as a private company that works globally across the globe. But if I have to kind of sort of pinpoint a couple, I think early in there was a focus on e-business, so there's a whole transformation. I mean, throughout our history, Bechtel has always focused on innovations, and part of its success is innovating, and we're very kind of sort of courageous in taking on any different aspects of our continuous development, and innovation is a big part of it. So the early 2000s, there was a whole e-business stock, moving from a legacy world to a digital world, had some learning about change management. And in the mid 2010, about delivering 3 large projects side by side on the same land was fundamentally for 3 different clients. By the way, that's what makes a difference, especially for 3 different in one geographical area. That's it's an island in itself. Was a huge experience, and I'll have to say that the biggest transformation for me has been post-COVID. The whole year for post-COVID, where everything kind of sort of what we the whole global supply chain, what they get used to for the last 30, 40 years of standardizing, of globalizations, of creating, get challenged. And kind of posted, we were forced to look back and reflect on every aspect of doing business, and stress tested that's still valid, that still carry us for the future, and what changes we need to make for it. So I think those 3 milestones or inflection points, as you mentioned them, they come to mind as where we kind of
and maybe just to give the audience a sense of proportion, yeah. So I mean, Bechtel works on huge multi-billion-dollar projects, a lot of them, most of them, I would dare say. Building rail infrastructure, building metros, and so on. I mean, these humongous projects, yeah. So I also wanted you to share a little bit of perspective, because it's very unique. Most industries do not face a situation in which you need, within a span of 6 months, to put together, assemble a team, and start the project as if they'd been working together for many, many years. And this project is in the multi-billion with very tight deadlines and tight schedules, with very high penalties if you don't if you don't reach those deadlines. So tell us a little bit about how do you pull that off in the first place?
So maybe a little bit more about Bechtel. So Bechtel is a company we have 5 global business units that cover different types of projects and different types of market, from our energy global business units that covers LNG, downstream and chemicals, water business, tank business, and energy transitions. We have an infrastructure business, as you mentioned, that covers airports, rails, dams, and highways. We have our manufacturing and technology business that works in building, batteries, facilities, data centers, and chip manufacturing. Our mining and metal division focus on mining operations in South America and Australia and different parts of the world as well, and nuclear security and environment. So that works with kind of governments, infrastructures. So these 5 global business units, have different markets as well, and we do deliver by projects. So even the projects within those global units are varied, and our supply chain is diverse and global and inclusive. But we deliver through a project setting. And to your point, some of these projects in particular for market sectors are multi-billion dollars, mega projects that are different parts of the world. And at any point in time, we tend to work in very remote areas and where there's no supporting infrastructure, especially in energy or mining and metal settings. And we have to kind of build that infrastructure, whether it's from housing the workers, the people, to building your laydown yard warehousing system, distribution centers, inventory control, transportation and logistics. And many times you have to go from 0 to full efficiency in about 6 months' time. With a new set of people, we very proud of partnering with our local communities and developing true partnerships to deliver those projects. But yes, the setup and the transformation happens in a very fast period of time. We rely on our long history of delivering projects remotely. We're a little bit structured, as well as very flexible and nimble. So we have quite a few people who are trained in the skills that can multiply themselves and help local communities and local workers through setting up the process and procedures and the toolkit to be able to deliver on that efficiency. So we focus a lot on training and development and mobility.
And so from a supply chain, obviously procurement is huge for what you do. You have to procure a lot of different services, products, and so are there certain tech or processes, or I guess I'm asking for the secret sauce. Of course, it's not easy to pinpoint when you have a lot of them, and maybe you don't want to share all of it. But is there 1 or 2 things where if you were to pinpoint also from a tech and process perspective, where you say, okay, this is what we do really well, and this is where we kind of the secret sauce of success is one of these?
I think there's always the foundation of our people is our key for our success and truly how we're able to develop. But throughout the histories and projects that Bechtel executed, our capabilities and knowledge and learning and experience is truly kind of sort of get captured and get truly indoctrinated in our process, procedures, and tools and training. So it's kind of sort of part of the capabilities of what we do, and we try to summarize the whole knowledge of 126 years and try to bring it to every project as we execute. So we have this huge reservoir of knowledge, huge reservoir of experiences and know-hows that we've tried to bring and develop on it. But truly, one of the foundational things for us is our ability to be as an EPC company, which does the engineering, procurement, and construction, is our ability to integrate our work processes for the 3 different divisions and our ability to solve problems and to reach. So having all these capabilities and integration in-house minimizes the handovers, minimize the complexity that comes when you're just doing one P, when doing only the engineering or the procurement. So I will say one of our fundamental successes is in our ability to deliver and operate in an integrated fashion between all the functions that we have, and it does streamline the work processes. It just embeds a lot of efficiencies, it embeds a lot of innovations, and truly focus on the value proposition that we bring to our customers, which most of the time is trying to achieve their dreams and aspiration and goals by completing these large mega projects that are, community changing, and there are, countries that benefit from these mega projects that are iconic, and I can recite some of the projects throughout the history, but Bechtel.com can provide really a good survey of all the projects throughout the years, and yeah, that's our secret sauce.
Got it. And specifically to the role of supply chain, and we were sharing a little bit offline that Chief Supply Chain Officer is a new scope, or is a new title, at least within the framework of Bechtel in the last 3 years or so. How has supply chain evolved within Bechtel, right? Because I think it's been an evolution, also maybe pre-COVID, post-COVID. There's something to play. And how do you see in general the role of supply chain?
I think we're all, in at least for the last 40, 50 years, I think supply chain was reaching a certain level of reliability and predictability. And because of it's been reliable and repeatable, a lot of people kind of start viewing supply chain or procurement as a transactional aspect of it and less of a strategic part. You start your work when you execute requirements, or you execute service requisitions, and because everything was predictable and repeatable and economical value was driven. But what we've seen lately, and started a little bit before COVID, is that the economical value is no longer the primary. There's a lot of political and economical and geopolitical and sanctions and others where you conduct business is driven by more than just economical value that you see. And us being a global company, it created that more complexity of knowing everywhere, and you cannot really centralize in a certain part of the world. So it's driven more supply chain to be more strategic, to start thinking from end to end, start looking at, how do we actually build an execution plan? How do we build a proposal? How do we actually build a value proposition for our customers? And how can we actually deliver to the fundamental value for us, which is really finishing the project or delivering on what we signed up for? And so we started looking at the strategic aspect of supply chain and how to as a key for success, and how do we get to know how we build resilient supply chains. We've heard all these terminologies over the years: resilience and sustainable and risk averse. And so it did transform the role, and not only force us to look at the bedrock, which is our process and procedures or tools, if they're still fundamental, but also on other relationships, also on just how do we contract and to what we contract. And that relationship has really transformed from transferring risk or pricing risk to really focus on resolution of risk, and the speed of resolution of risk become fundamental. So it did provide a lot of dynamical changes. I think relationships, both with our customers and with our suppliers, continue to be at the top priority of getting these complex projects delivered. Transparency and speed of resolutions become a fundamental part, and truly looking towards how can we invest in each other's success to deliver these mega projects.
And if I were to ask you of some of the main, let's say, challenges within Bechtel supply chain, within your teams that you're trying to address in the next 12 to 24 months, I mean, there's always a lot of them, right? But what are some of the main areas that you're working on to become even better, even more efficient?
I mean, definitely continued pursuit of technology and speed and some information on how do we process data, how we process information, how do we look at information, and truly moving from minimizing the time to retrieve data and information and maximize the time of decision making and analysis. Kind of sort of we have to make that transition because of the speed and the dynamics by which things are changing. So we always focus on that. We always focus on talent development, talent training. We always focus on making sure that we are benchmarking and delivering the value the project. And the unique things about Bechtel is that the variety of different markets that we're in, the variety of different execution style and contract types that we deliver to our customers, and we just need to be, our capabilities high, our domain knowledge is always up to par, and just having our oversight and empowerment is really what we continue to focus on. And I cannot stress enough the importance of knowledge. I say resilient supply chains are knowledgeable supply chains, and we have the ability, because of our breadth and depth, to interact with different aspects of the global supply chain, and we have a lot of knowledge. Our always challenge is how do we disseminate all the information that we learn in a timely fashion. We have deeper knowledge, working on sharing it as fast as possible, and that's really something we're focusing on, as long as looking at other emerging trends, and disruptors like AI, and see how do we prepare for the next evolution.
Got it. And you mentioned talent, so I'll stay with that as a topic, and we always ask also during the podcast some questions around specifically AI. Technology in general is transforming constantly, and now probably with the speed that we've never seen before, the way we work. So what do you look for when you guys hire, I think you also have an incredible program in terms of developing talent and keeping them. You're living proof of that as well. What do you look for? What type of skills, soft skills, hard skills do you look for in people to join Bechtel with?
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, in Bechtel, we're always on the hunt for talent and people who would love to join our journey and our transformation stories. And we recruit around the world constantly, specifically within supply chain. I think domain knowledge is table stakes. Kind of sort of, a lot of people are technically very strong in ability, managing complexity, managing knowledge of the outer market, knowledge of the sectors we're in, how we operate, ability to understand the strategic value of where we work and how we work, and there's so truly a knowledgeable, talented focus. We partner with a lot of universities. We love our early career hires and knowledge. Always feel it's like a huge rush of energy gets injected in the company with fresh thoughts and fresh ideas that comes to that. But experience is also we rely on a lot, and we just try to attract people that can fit both behaviorally as well as skill set, within the Bechtel framework. Like I said, our projects are around the world and global, and sometimes mobility is a challenge to be able to go from country to country and project to projects. But yeah, those are some of the things that we look at. That willing to embrace other cultures and perform within different settings.
And maybe here's a question also for you specifically, because you've done it, right? You've changed so many countries, so many geographies, so many projects. I mean, this isn't easy. I mean, I've also in my life, I've lived on different continents, but you have all those cultural elements which is not to be neglected. It's not the same thing to deal with I don't know, with an American versus a European at times. Definitely not the same when you're dealing with an Asian. Completely different ball game. I mean, even what type of Asian, right? Then you have Middle East. Then you have all these areas. So Any tips and tricks maybe from your own experience this time, right? And how do you and how did you do it? Because obviously you've done it successfully. How did you manage this cultural diversity, and how do you parachute yourself in a completely different culture, still get the best out of people that might be in a different world map than yours?
To be honest with you, and truly, really very, very spontaneously, and maybe it doesn't sound very good. It's a journey. It's a learning and a cultural experience. It's kind of hard to call it work because the enrichment that you have in a different place, the relationship that you build with different people, what you see, you learn, and you feel, it truly does not make it work. I feel very privileged that I get paid for experiencing different parts of the world and seeing different parts of the world and be able to touch and impact the lives of many people in different parts of the world. I think in itself is inspirational. In itself, you feel like it's a lot of sense of value that you are making a substantial impact. It's very rewarding on a personal level to have this feeling and to have this enrichment that yes, it does take a little bit of sacrifice. Yes, it does take you feel like you put your life on pause from different places that you move, but I think it's if you embrace adventure and if you embrace learning and you want to see different places of the world and truly feel good about what you do, our industry is a place to be. It's irreplaceable.
Love it. No, I remember. I mean, we had on the podcast Keith is the CEO of APM Terminals, so they build ports. It's a port operator, and he had a similar sharing where he was giving one example of in one particular country where they built a port and literally they changed the lives of so many people because all of a sudden now you have commerce happening and now you have you bring industries, you bring economic growth, you transform the life of the whole community, thousands and thousands of people, and also that satisfaction, yeah, it's just something that is not to be matched easily in any other areas of work. So love your perspective. Maybe one more question from me. There's a lot of young professionals listening to the podcast. What words of advice would you give to them just starting their careers, to one day make it as a chief supply chain officer or top executive in a large company? What was most useful to you?
As a new entry into theirs, I think doing your task or taking care of the stuff that you're entrusted with today is extremely important. It's truly a foundational for building trust and building your profile. So there's, step number one, I think take care of everything that you're entrusted with the best way you can ever have. Focus on today to be the foundational. And I will say the second part is continue to be curious. Continue to be curious and learn about every aspect of the job or the industry that you choose to be part of. Learn your job, learn everybody's job around you, learn the supporting systems, your contractors, your suppliers. Learning, it's enriching in itself, and I think that makes you more valuable. And I will say step number three, or foundation number three, build relationships and networks. If you took care of today, continue learning and build your network, I think your career will be very successful.
Love it. Well, on that note, Tarek, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for sharing all these great insights with us, and keep building and making the world a better place.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being with you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you liked what you heard, be sure to go to www.elcotglobal.com and click the podcast button for all the show notes of the interview. Also, subscribe to our mailing list to get our latest updates first. If you're listening through a streaming platform like iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher, we would appreciate a kind review. 5-star works best to keep us going and our production team happy. And of course, share it with your friends. I'm most active on LinkedIn, so do feel free to follow me. And if you have any suggestions on what to do and who to invite next, don't hesitate to drop me a note. And if you're looking to hire top executives or transform your business, of course, contact us as well to find out how we can help.